10. Mother Teresa. Saint or sinner? Mother Teresa's name is practically synonymous with compassion, right? The nun who dedicated her life to helping India's poorest and sickest? Well, hold that halo. Her hospices, meant to be havens, were more like scenes from a horror flick. Picture this: desperate people seeking care, only to find volunteers with zero medical training running the show. Needles? Reused until they were duller than a butter knife, painfully poking patients until they couldn't even pierce skin. Basic hygiene? Optional. Pain relief? Forget it. Mother Teresa believed suffering was a divine gift, a way to get closer to Jesus. So, while patients endured what she called beautiful suffering, proper pain meds were nowhere to be found. Her organization raked in millions in donations, millions. But where did it go? Not to upgrading those grim hospices or buying basic supplies. Most of it vanished into mysterious bank accounts. One Indian athlete visited a hospice and was so horrified by the stench of decay that he lost his lunch outside. Meanwhile, Mother Teresa jetted around the world in first-class comfort and got top-notch medical care when she needed it. Talk about a double standard. Was she a saint or something else entirely? You tell me. 9. Gandhi. The peace icon with a prejudiced past. Mahatma Gandhi, champion of nonviolence, the guy who inspired movements worldwide with his peaceful resistance. But rewind to his early days, and you'll find a very different Gandhi. In his 20 seconds, as a lawyer in South Africa in the 1,890 seconds, Gandhi wasn't exactly fighting for equality for all. Nope, he held some seriously ugly views about black Africans, calling them savages in his writings. While advocating for Indian rights, he argued Indians were superior and deserved to be treated more like white people, not lumped in with black Africans. When Indians were forced to share entrances with black Africans, did Gandhi push for unity? Nah, he demanded separate entrances for Indians, doubling down on racial segregation. This wasn't just a product of the times. He actively wrote and argued for these ideas for years. Sure, he evolved later, becoming the beacon of peace we know today, but it's jarring to realize the man who fought oppression once helped perpetuate it. Makes you wonder, how do we reconcile these two versions of Gandhi? 8. Churchill. Heroic speeches, heartless policies. Winston Churchill is often hailed as Britain's bulldog, delivering rousing speeches that kept hope alive during World War II. But while he was inspiring Londoners, he was making choices that spelled disaster for millions in India. Take the Bengal famine of 1943. This wasn't a natural disaster. Scientists confirmed rainfall was above average, and there was enough rice to go around. So why did up to 3 million people die? Because Churchill's government kept exporting rice from Bengal to feed British soldiers, even as locals starved in the streets. Then there was the rice denial policy. British troops destroyed massive rice stockpiles to keep them from the Japanese, leaving Bengalis with nothing. Imagine watching soldiers toss your family's food into the river while you're starving. When Indian officials begged for help, Churchill dismissed them, blaming Indians for breeding like rabbits. 3 million lives equivalent to the entire population of a major city gone, because feeding British troops trumped saving Bengali lives. Hero on one side of the world, villain on the other. Which Churchill do you see? 7. Edison. The light bulb thief? Thomas Edison, the wizard of invention, right? The guy who lit up the world with the light bulb? Not so fast. Edison's workshop was less lone genius and more sweatshop for ideas. He had dozens of inventors toiling under him, competing like contestants on a reality show. When one of them struck gold with a brilliant idea, guess who got the credit? Yup, Edison's name went on the patent. He'd swoop in, tweak someone else's invention slightly, and claim it as his own. His tireless inventor image? More like a masterclass in PR. Think of Edison as the ultimate idea remixer, taking other people's beats and dropping his name on the track. He wasn't just inventing, he was branding. So next time you flick on a light, remember, the spark might have come from someone else's bulb. Does that dim Edison's legacy for you? 6. Jefferson. Liberty's hypocrite. Thomas Jefferson penned the iconic words, "All men are created equal," in the Declaration of Independence. Inspiring, right? Except this same guy owned over 600 enslaved people, including his own children. At his Monticello estate, enslaved men, women, and children built his home, cooked his meals, and kept his life running smoothly. Among them was Sally Hemings, an enslaved woman who bore several of Jefferson's kids. That's right, the man who wrote about freedom enslaved his own flesh and blood. Jefferson called slavery wrong but kept at it his entire life. He championed education as the backbone of democracy, yet made it illegal for his slaves to learn to read. His own children grew up in bondage because their dads saw them as property. It's like writing a love song about equality while living the opposite. How do you square that circle? 5. Sims, the gynecologist's gruesome experiments. Dr. J. Marion Sims is celebrated as the father of modern gynecology, but his legacy is built on a foundation of cruelty. In the 1,840 seconds, Sims conducted experiments on enslaved women Anarcha, Lucy, and Betsy without anesthesia, even though it was available for white patients. These women, treated as property, had no choice but to endure his procedures. Anarcha alone went through 30 agonizing surgeries, some lasting hours, with no pain relief. Why? Sims believed black women didn't feel pain the same way. He perfected his techniques through this torture, operating in a small hospital behind his house. Once he got it right, he started using anesthesia, but only for white patients. His career soared, but at what cost? Statues of Sims have come down as people realize his breakthroughs came through brutality. Can you celebrate a medical pioneer when his methods were so monstrous? 4. Columbus. Explorer or exploiter? Christopher Columbus, the guy who discovered the New World, right? Well, his arrival in the Caribbean in 1492 was more like a wrecking ball. He brought diseases like smallpox and measles, wiping out up to 90% of the native population in some areas. That's 9 out of 10 people gone. Imagine entire towns vanishing. On his first day, he started enslaving natives, noting in his journal they'd make excellent servants. No. As governor, Columbus turned the islands into a nightmare. He forced natives to mine gold until they collapsed from exhaustion. Didn't meet the quota? His men would chop off hands and make victims wear them as necklaces. Rebellions were crushed with war dogs, and thousands of natives were shipped to Spain as slaves, many dying on the brutal journey. His cruelty was so extreme that even the Spanish crown arrested him. Explorer or exploiter? You decide. 3. Leopold II, the King's Congo catastrophe. King Leopold II of Belgium sold himself as a humanitarian, promising to bring civilization to the Congo. Spoiler: it was a lie. He turned a region 76 times the size of Belgium into his personal ATM, exploiting it for rubber. His soldiers had strict orders. If villages didn't meet rubber quotas, they were erased. To prove they weren't wasting bullets, soldiers had to bring back a human hand for every shot fired. Sometimes, they'd cut off hands from living people, men, women, even children, just to save ammo. The death toll? Up to 10 million people, half of Belgium's population at the time. All while Leopold lounged in his palace, never setting foot in the Congo. When journalists exposed his atrocities, he burned the evidence. Belgium had to buy the Congo from him to stop the horror. Humanitarian? More like a monster in a crown. 2. Walt Disney. Magic with a dark edge. Walt Disney, the man who gave us Mickey Mouse and the happiest place on earth. But behind the magic was a darker side. In 1941, his animators went on strike, fed up with being overworked and underpaid. Walt didn't take it well. He called the strike leaders communist agitators, and even testified before Congress, claiming it was a red plot. The guy who built a dream factory made his workers' lives miserable. Then there's the gender issue. Women applying for animation jobs were told they could only trace other people's work, no creative roles for them. And those classic Disney films? Some had racial stereotypes so blatant they now come with warning labels. Disney created joy for kids but misery for many who made it happen. Does that tarnish the magic for you? 1. Andrew Jackson, the people's president, or Native American nemesis? Andrew Jackson, the man of the people on your $20 bill, rose from nothing to become president. But his legacy is stained with blood. Jackson saw Native American lands and wanted them for white settlers. His solution? The Indian Removal Act of 1830. Soldiers stormed native homes, giving families minutes to grab their belongings before forcing them to march hundreds of miles through brutal conditions. This was the Trail of Tears, where thousands died from cold, disease, and starvation. When the Supreme Court ruled the removal illegal, Jackson ignored it, claiming it was for national prosperity. Nearly 50,000 Native Americans were displaced, their lives upended for land grabs. His face on our money feels like a bitter irony. Man of the people? Only if you were the right people. Wrapping it up, wow, History's messy, isn't it? These icons shaped the world, but their stories aren't all sunshine and rainbows. From Mother Teresa's questionable hospices to Jackson's brutal policies, these truths remind us that even heroes have shadows. What's your take on these revelations? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, share with a friend, and ring the bell for more untold stories. Until next time, keep questioning history.